And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What's up, everyone? Good morning. If you are checking this out on TikTok or if you are watching this live on YouTube, good morning. This is Morning Coffee. I look a lot more awake than I feel. I will tell you that right now. Been having a hard time sleeping lately. Trying to rectify that situation. You always try to do things like taking Benadryl. Take a couple of those, you wake up feeling kind of groggy in the morning, but you did get some sleep. So that is kind of one of the things that I have to do. But we're moving forward. So we've been doing this now. I didn't do this yesterday, which, I needed rest. I need to try to sleep in a little bit. Try to get going, trying to get some rest. Yesterday was a tired, restful day. What's up, Nikki? How's it going? I basically didn't do a whole lot yesterday. My wife is a nurse and she worked all day yesterday. I said both kids. I just kind of take a lazy day for myself because it's been a while and I needed it. I don't necessarily always do that, but sometimes you need to take a break and take care of yourself. Unfortunately, it was at my kids had to kind of hang out and watch movies with me yesterday. Morning coffee. This is, let's see what we got, episode 7, because I did it every day last week except for Sunday. And some people call that, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? When's your day start? My day, I feel like it's Monday to Sunday. Some people say like my wife's work starts from Sunday to Monday or Sunday to Saturday. So I don't know. I just wondered when your work week starts. Mine starts on Monday. I want to talk to you today because I was cruising through, Nikki is in the chat room over on YouTube. If you're watching on TikTok over here, we do this. Looks like there's no one in the TikTok room anyway, but I'll say it anyway, just in case someone is watching this a little bit later. But we do this. I've been doing this every week. We're just talking about things and motivational things going on Monday to Sunday as well for Nikki. Yesterday I was cruising through Instagram stories and I saw someone that I follow was talking about having a hard time reading David Goggins' book. And Nikki actually sent me a video yesterday talking about someone who's motivated by it as well. I don't know if you guys, so I say I read books. I don't, I listen to them. But I listen to a lot of them. I actually have one queued up. I need to start getting back into it because there's these books and I always go back to David Goggins' book. I think I'm in the middle of Never Finished again because of some of the things that he says. Now, you have to be in the right mindset to understand David Goggins. You have to think outside the box because I have talked to quite a few people who are like, I don't like him. I can't listen to, or I don't like what he says. We're a little glitchy on the YouTube. I'm sorry if that is the case. You can always catch these episodes too on, I think the audio, well, I don't know. It just depends. The audio might be a little bit better than the video, but sometimes not. Sometimes it's your connection. Sometimes it's my connection. My connection has been actually pretty good lately, which is crazy. Not crazy, but you use the old Starlink and out in the middle of nowhere. And my connection is actually really good right now. But that doesn't mean that it's not glitchy. So anyway, we're just going to keep going because that's what we're doing. This is the old morning coffee. So we're talking about David Goggins. I always go back to his books too. So I go back to listening to them. I like listening to books. I was telling you about Grant Cardone, the 10X Rule, and how listening to him read it, it's a little different when you hear it, to me. And I was the guy who always had to get yelled at, I feel like, to get the point across. It's kind of weird because if you yell at people now, and I've been getting a lot of comments, it's hilarious because I did an interview with my daughter last week. And people are like, you're so rude, you're so this, you're so that to your kid. And I'm not. I think that we all think that we need to baby our children, and we don't. And when I coached baseball, the kids used to have a rough time with me because I come across as a stern person, but it's just my tone. It's who I am. It's how I coach. It's how I talk. Everyone is, I think we act like we have to, talk to our kids or talk to little kids and baby talk. I was a physical education teacher. That's a good one. Kids had a hard time at first. Like the first week, they're like, oh my God, this guy is so gruff. He's so mean. He's so this, he's so that. And then after that, they ended up loving me. I think it's hilarious, though, that people make snap judgments based on those things. And I think that they don't really know you. So that's when I start to like, you know what? It's social media. Who cares? Whatever. I'm going to say who I am. I want you to know who I am. And if you don't like me, then I'm not for you. And that's kind of the same thing with David Goggins. You listen to him talk, he always talks about getting hard or like being tougher or being whatever. Well, the guy pushes himself to the very limit every single day. That may not be right for you, but it's right for him. And that's what keeps him going. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about him. And I understand that it's not for everyone. I have this vivid memory of when I was high school football playing offensive line, and I was getting beat outside for sure. Over and over again, I was getting beat outside. And my head coach, he's probably six. This is the thing. I'm 6'3". At the time I was in high school, probably 6'3", 260 pounds. I'm a senior, and I kept getting beat on this one play at practice. And he looks over at me and he starts yelling at me and he's like, you need to do this. This is what you need to do. He told me I needed to do it and I didn't listen. So then he came over and he grabbed me and he's like, do this. Like he's like, brace, step, telling me how to pass block over and over again. Something that I already knew how to do, but like I kept getting beaten. And we couldn't figure out why. He's yelling and screaming at me. And next thing I know, what happens? I don't get beat. But sometimes it takes that. There's certain types of people who take certain types of motivation. And I feel like you have to be honest with people. I always feel like that. I always feel like we sit here and we allow people, we skate around the truth because we're afraid we're going to hurt someone's feelings. And we all get in our feelings all the time now. And there is a time for feelings, and I'm not dismissing feelings, but I will tell you this. If you think about the way that you feel and everything that makes you feel instead of getting out of your comfort zone, you're just going to be in your feelings all the time. Those kids think that, that was the thing that they didn't understand. They thought that I was just like, hey, I'm some slave driver at first. And then they realized, they bought into it. They bought into what it was. It was like the kids that I was coaching. I remember my freshman baseball team. Everyone just thought I was just gruff. Well, I've always come across that way. But when they realize that, we're cleaning up this field because I care about who we are, I'm telling you to tuck your shirt in because it's something that you have to buy into. Taking care of your field. If you look good, you feel good. All kinds of stuff. There's all these lessons that you learn, and they realize over and over again that maybe it's just me. And they have to learn that not everything is going to be the same. My daughter's having a hard time at school right now. She's adjusting. And I was the same. I went through the same thing. When I was 10 years old and she's 10 years old, we moved and I went to a different school. And I had this conversation with her the other day. She's like, I'm having a hard time making friends, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, when I was 10, my parents packed up and we moved 750 miles away. And I moved to a new school and kids are mean and kids say things. And I remember going to the first day of school. And in the previous place that I lived, that I went to school at, we played baseball, we played football, we played basketball, we played these team sports at school, so we played these games that they didn't play. So I show up to my first day at Pioneer Elementary School, and I walk in there, and I remember this kid, and I'm not going to say his name, but I still remember him, and I still know him. Do you play tetherball? I'm like, what the? We had tetherball, but we never played it. Like, it was just like the balls were just hanging on the poles, I'm like, sure, whatever. And then like you're trying to win them over and you're like, yeah, I'm pretty good at it, blah, 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 blah. But I wasn't. And I knew nothing about it other than hit the ball and it goes around the thing. And I knew how to kind of play it, but it wasn't something that I played. So I was busy swinging a bat or throwing a football. These guys, it wasn't that big of a deal to them. We had the 49ers and the Raiders growing up, and we were over there playing the 49ers versus the Raiders on the playground with our whole classroom. I got made fun of pretty bad because I got beat terribly. And everyone looks at you and they see, you know, like I was a tall kid, like I was the tallest kid in my class. You're tall, you're going to be good at this because you can hit the ball, because you can do this, can you do that? You know, like everyone always thinks, you look at a guy who's, you know, 7 foot, oh, did you play basketball? Most of the time the guys didn't play basketball. So it's kind of funny that they can make these judgments on you. And then, you know, you get made fun of. The first day of school, you show up, you get made fun of. My daughter is like me, you know, she's the biggest kid in her class. She has a hard time, you know, getting infiltrated into that. And she's uncomfortable, and I get it, and I'm sorry. But, you know, it's things that we have to go through, and we don't teach our kids anymore. We don't learn to get uncomfortable anymore. And that is what makes you better. You're not always going to know the same people. You're not always going to be interacting with something that is comfortable. And the moment that you can learn to get uncomfortable is when things get easier. And that's why I like David Goggins. So we're talking about some of his quotes. You know, we talked last week about the comfort zone and like living in the comfort zone, and how living in the comfort zone is not something that will be beneficial to you, right? If you guys are just joining over here on TikTok, I have a YouTube live going right now that has an interactive chat. Just gonna look over here real quick and just say, hey, you know, I appreciate you being here. If you want to get in the chat, you can hop over on YouTube. We got a couple people on the YouTube chat room talking here as well. We're talking about David Goggins, okay? So getting out of the comfort zone. And one of these quotes, I just pulled up some quotes from his books. He's, if you don't know who David Goggins is, you probably see him and you might be offended by him because he just tells it how it is. And that's what I like about him, because that's how I am. I would rather you tell me straight to my face that I'm doing something wrong, or that things are going to be the way that they're going to be. And whether I like it or not, it's not going to change, right? This is how it is, so that I can adapt to whatever that situation is, and so that I can be the best I can be no matter what. So here's one right here, right off the bat. I pulled up, you know, David Goggins quotes. Like I said, he's a former Navy SEAL. Took him, if you got to read the book, it took him 3 times to get through BUD/S in order to become a Navy SEAL. He started out as like a 300-pound overweight guy, had to work his way down to, I can't remember, it was like 180 pounds in order to even be able to take it. He had to retake the ASVAB 3 times in order to be able to get to be able to even try to be a SEAL. So this is the things that someone had to overcome, because he had the choice, right? The choice was to continue to keep trying or to just quit, right? So again, like I said, there's a lot of people who don't like it. I would recommend listening to it on Audible, because I tell you, I read books, but what I do is I listen to them. And the person who was talking to me about it yesterday was saying, I just can't get into it. I can't get into it. I can't get into it. And it's tough, because when you're reading it, I feel like, and Nikki, I don't know if you read it or not, but I listened to it. I feel like you're reading, he wrote it as a podcast. Like he was doing the podcast with this other guy who basically reads a book, but David and him, every chapter, they have a conversation about what's going on through each story. And hearing him talk about it is just completely different. But you are in danger of living a life so comfortable and soft that you will die without ever realizing your true potential. It's easy, right? We find these times where it's easy. It's easy to go, woe is me. It's easy to be comfortable. It's easy to say this is how it's going to be and not take a step outside, right? It's easy. Living the life in the comfort zone. And when you listen to him talk about a lot of the things that he does, he will sit there and he will do these things that you don't think your body's capable of, right? You honestly don't feel like you can do certain things. We talked about weightlifting last week and how lifting weights is like a way to get stronger, right? In your life, you have to do things a little bit harder than what you did before. But lifting weights is a perfect example. I love that example. I like to relate these things to my life and how they work. And lifting weights is a perfect example of pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, right? People want to get strong. So they go over there, they start lifting weights, they do these things to get stronger, and you have to lift more than you did last time in order to get stronger, right? So if you do 25 pounds a day, you got to do 26 pounds tomorrow. You're pushing your body to this other limit. Well, your life is the same way. You don't like public speaking. You don't like, selling things. You don't like doing, there's all these things that if you don't like doing them, what do you do to get better? My wife or my daughter, perfect example. I hate math. I'm not good at it. Why are you not good at it? Because I because I just don't like it. Well, you don't like it because you're not good at it, but if you practice it, you'll get better at it. I had to start at Math 25 in college when I went back because I said the same thing, and I feel stupid about that because if I would have just applied myself a little bit harder, I would have got math. And those are the things that I try to tell her. You know, like we lead by the example that we have. You don't have to like it, but you have to do it, and it's necessary. Do you use it every day? More than you think. More than you think. Okay, so to get outside your comfort zone, to do more than what you did before, to be better at what you're doing is really what it's like. It's really what it's about. So think about that when you're like, oh, this is not great. I don't like this. I'm uncomfortable, right? I'm uncomfortable. What can you do to change that? The most important conversations you'll ever have are the ones you have with yourself. The most important conversations you'll ever have are the ones that you have with yourself. Because why? Who is your biggest critic? Who is your biggest critic? Yourself, right? So you live with yourself every day. You know who you are. You know what you're capable of. And when you allow other people who don't know you, just like with the podcast the other day, right? Like I'm looking through the comments on YouTube of these people who are commenting on a 30-second clip of the episode. They haven't even watched the whole thing. They don't know the banter back and forth between me and my daughter. They're quick to judge. Paper killer, can't believe you're this rude, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of good things that come from it. But I think it's funny that we sit there and we allow these people to make this decision based on a 1-minute clip of your life, right? So you need to have that conversation with yourself because you are the person who is in control of what you do. That is you, all right? So understand that. Have that conversation with yourself. Don't allow other people to be the voice inside your head. Use it as fuel. If they say something that you don't like or they don't like, who cares? It's you. This is your time. This is you. So you know more than they know about yourself. So have that conversation with yourself. Compete with yourself. Beat yourself. All right? Everyone fails sometimes, and life isn't supposed to be fair, much less bend to your every whim. I am working through this right now myself, right? Like I have these ideas of what my life is supposed to look like. Yet I'm not in control of what the outcome is, but I'm in control of doing everything that I possibly can to make that happen. So what do I have to do? What do I have to do to make my life better? If I just sit there and wait for things to happen, what happens? Nothing. You have to do the work. You have to be willing to put that in. Now, it may not, it's like faith, right? We talked about faith quite a bit last week, and you put your faith into your own abilities. You put your faith into what is supposed to happen. Now, it's not always going to happen the way you want it to, but if you didn't do the work, then nothing will happen, right? Nothing happens unless nothing happens. So you think about this will be a controversial. I'm not even going to talk about let's talk about polio vaccination, right? We're talking about vaccinations, right? Science, things like that. They have a theory. They develop a theory. They have to figure out exactly how to make something work in their theory. They have experiments that they do in order to see if they can make something happen, and they continue doing the same experiment. Well, what if I change this variable? Then what happens? And what if I change this variable? Then what happens? So they're trying to create a vaccination for polio, right? And then they add this little bit in there and boom, it works. But they may have tried 1,000 times before they actually made it work. And what happens is they could have quit, right? They could have stopped. They could have said, screw this isn't going to work, we're not going to do it, and we're going to just move along, right? And nothing happens because they quit. They didn't try anymore. So the failures in life are just what is the saying? You look at failure as an invitation to try again, okay? Not everyone is perfect. Not everyone is going to get things done right off the bat. And it's one of those deals where you're going to have to practice over and over again. And even when you've got it down perfect, it doesn't mean that's going to happen perfect every single time. You got to keep trying. Okay. So look at failure as a green light. Don't look at it as a red light. And he has all this knowledge that he talks about. It's just crazy. And I'm looking through them. There's like 30 of them here. You can always look up these quotes. You can just go to David Goggins quotes, and just look at them. Listen to his book. I mean, I feel like I'm selling his book for him, but I'll tell you what, I don't know how many people I've recommended that book for. And I've had mixed reviews on what it is. And most of the people are mixed reviews are holding a hard copy in their hand. You got to hear it. You got to hear it. I swear, like, it's the best way to listen to that book or to consume that book is to listen to David Goggins. Thanks for hanging over here on TikTok. If you want to get in the conversation over here on YouTube, you can just go to Shaping Success with Wes Tankers. Please subscribe, turn the bell on, and you'll be able to get the notifications when I go live because I am live right now over there. Let's see here. What's another one? I'm looking at these and I'm reading through them as I'm going. And I'm just like, I don't know. I'll talk about this one much, but it may be satisfactory, but that's another word for mediocrity. So like you're just getting it. You're just doing the bare minimum, right? Just to get it done, just to check that box. It's just crazy. Don't check the box. We're either getting better or getting worse. I like the black and whiteness of the conversation, right? Like it's straight down the arrow. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. What are you doing? If you're doing nothing, you're not going to get any better at it, right? So what happens? Always be ready to adjust, recalibrate, and stay after it to become better somehow. I've had this conversation about this hamster wheel, and I can't remember. One of the guys that I worked with told me about it. It's like the Hedonic wheel or something like that, that we get on, where we try to find what we're looking for. We're trying to use that as a driving force to keep moving forward, to keep going, to keep pushing. But it reminded me a lot of a hamster wheel. And one of my friends on TikTok, Miss Toon, was talking about, I actually had an interview with her, but she was talking about, I feel like I'm just running on a hamster wheel. And if you know what a hamster wheel is, I hope that most of you know what that is, but you're running in a circle over and over again, right? You're getting nowhere. It's like on a treadmill, you're running nowhere, but you're running, right? So you're getting exercise, but you're not going anywhere. Well, to get off of that, to move forward, because you're just running in circles, you got to get off, right? You get off, and then you can run forward. Now, hamster doesn't have very much of a cage, but just picture this in your big open field, and you got a hamster wheel. You can either run on the hamster wheel and get your exercise, or you can run in a circle around the cage. So the best thing sometimes is to get off and just move forward. So get off the wheel, right? The spinning, like going nowhere wheel, and move forward. It's crazy what happens, but you have to be willing to sometimes get off there, make that adjustment, and move forward. All right, let's see here. I'm just looking through. There's a lot of good ones. We're going to do probably one more here, but I think you just need to go. I would tell you 100% to go listen to this book. Get it on Audible, get it on Scribd, or wherever you listen to books. Check it out. All right, this is the one that we're going to end with, and I really like this one because sometimes getting out of your comfort zone, you have to be vulnerable, right? Like you have to be willing to put yourself out there in front of other people. Think of a time when you've had to be vulnerable. What does that mean to you? Like for me, it's like you had to do something that you didn't feel comfortable doing. And, you may look like an ass, you may look stupid, you may not be able to do it right the first time, but it's something that you want to do, right? Okay, so it takes strength to be vulnerable enough to put your ass on the line in public and work towards a dream that feels like it's slipping away. This podcast is something that made me have to be vulnerable. And it may not look like it right now. It may not look like it right now, but I'm vulnerable right now. Like I'm up here talking about my feelings. I'm putting my ass on the line, and people are looking at this and watching me and listening to me and making comments to me about something they agree with or disagree with or whatever, but I had to be willing to do it. And if I didn't do it, then I never would have it's it's successful to me because success defined by you, right? So I had to put myself out there looking at these types of things and looking at where it's going and where I see it going and visualizing that and knowing that. I had to be vulnerable in order to make that happen and reach the goals of where it's at. I talked about the stats the other day. I'm looking at it. I'd hit 200,000 views on YouTube yesterday. It's a great feeling. It's like, what's it take to do that? Well, putting yourself out there. Like if I never created the content, if I never created the videos, if I never did that, if I never put them out, it'd never happen. So you have to learn to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to work at it. You have to be willing to do it. Put your ass on the line. Okay? So get out there today. This is the message of today. Thank you for hanging out over on TikTok. Thank you for watching today. Get out there. Get out there. Put your ass on the line. Be vulnerable. If there's something that you want to do, the choice is yours. The choice is yours to be willing to be more and more. Nikki's typed this. This is one of my favorite words is consistency. She's typed this out. Consistency is a word. And that's what I'm trying to do. Be consistent in this and in the podcast world, right? Like I've done an episode every, Monday for damn near 4 years. And I put the seasons as like season 1, 2, 3, 4, which is a year of podcasting. Like it's one episode every single Monday. So there's a new episode out now because it's Monday, right? And then there's going to be this one. So there'll be 2 episodes coming out today, and then there'll be an episode every single day this week. Probably will not be one on Saturday because I'm going to, it's Saturday and Sunday, because I'm actually going to go hang out with my parents this weekend, take a little break because I freaking need one. Not that my mind will stop wandering, but that's it. Go out there, get your ass out there doing it. Be consistent every single day. Show up for yourself. You don't have to show up for other people. Show up for yourself, compete with yourself, be the best you can every single day. If you can do me a favor, if you're watching this on TikTok, go over and subscribe to the YouTube, Shaping Success with Wes Tankersley. Make sure you turn on that little bell. We've had 7 people in this conversation over here. It shows up on LinkedIn. It shows up on YouTube, shows up on Facebook. TikTok doesn't allow me to stream there. It's going one more place to Twitter or X, but it's streaming, right? So if you want to join Morning Coffee every morning, we're doing this at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, which is, I think my East Coast peeps are here because 7 o'clock over there, but the West Coast people, it's 4. So come join us. Make sure you turn that bell on, and you'll get a notification every time I post something or go live, and subscribe. You can go over to the podcast, subscribe. If you want to listen to it on audio, it's there. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, review, because I cannot make this any bigger or better without your help. And you can join the Patreon too if you want. For as little as $3 a month, you can support the show. You get shout outs. Patreon Nikki is here right now. Let's do this. Let's go out there and be better today than we were yesterday.